Hey guys, insight number 2 here, and we're in Haggai 2, and I've picked out verses 7, 9, and 15, but we'll probably look at just the whole chapter in general. And the question I've got for this is the temple a place of peace for you? So is the temple a place of peace for you? Because it isn't for everyone, and it's not always been for me, for various reasons. But nothing to do with the temple itself. The temple's been fine. I've been in a not good place, and I've had to work on myself and how I feel and deal with different things. Now, it's not that it was bad or that I was sinning or anything. I'm talking like I have PTSD for being shut in small places. So when there's no windows and the door's shut, and I kind of freak out a bit, and especially if it's a small enclosed space and there's a lot of people in there. That doesn't do well. I do not do well in that situation. I don't do well in shopping malls. I don't do well in even sacrament meetings. For me can be a bit daunting. I either sit at the back where I can have a quick escape, or I sit right at the front and just do my best to ignore that there's like 100 people behind me or more. And I've trained myself to do that. But that is something I've had to work on with a good psychologist and a lot of self-help sort of like videos and books and a lot of research and reading and prayer to get me to that point. Now, our Hamilton, New Zealand temple hasn't always been a place of peace for me. Not that it's not peaceful, but again, that, when your spiritual gifts are enhanced when you're in the temple, and I can hear and feel everyone's pain and sadness, and it is overwhelming. And then also, now it's better that it's changed, which I really appreciate. I've been able to go back and do a couple of sessions and be completely fine. But also when I used to sit in the room, it just reminded me so much of my grandparents because that's where they spent so much of their time. And I felt them there so strongly. And I still do in different places that are very similar where I have strong memories with them there. So going back in there also brings that up for me. And it's not that it's unpeaceful, but it's not a calming peace. It's a heartache peace. So that's been difficult. So, when everyone talks about, oh, I felt so much peace at the temple, I go to the temple to feel peace. Remember, that's not for everybody. And people are working on finding that feeling, and it's not going to come. And it doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong. I just want to preface this insight with that, because I think that said a lot. And I always felt like there was something wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with me. I just had to work on how I dealt in those, like practically in those situations. Because as I said, it applies to shopping malls and sacrament meeting and any other event where there's a whole ton of people and I can't move freely, or I just feel like I can't breathe. So that's something that I needed to work on. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong or broken with me, okay? So just if you're not feeling the peace in the temple, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It might mean you need to go and see Bishop for something, or it might mean that you just need to, I don't know, maybe think about why do you feel that way, and work on that. Because you can feel the peace of the temple, really. I used to feel it sitting on the steps. I feel it on the grounds. I do. It's just the situation of the practicality of it. So it wasn't so much my spirituality, it was just the practicality of it. But anyway, so 7, 9, and 15. So this is the Haggai talking about the Messiah, and that he's prophesying in the days that will come, the Messiah will come once, first, and then second, and there will be, he will give peace in his temple. That's where you're going to find it. And we see that when Jesus was alive, he cleansed the temple and made it that place of comfort and peace again. And we see that now with the many temples we have. Excuse me, still getting over my cold. And how that brings peace into so many people's lives, whether they're members or not, because just even being on the grounds, as I said, is just so uplifting and enriching. So anyway, so what do we say? 7, 9, and 15. So 7 reads, "And I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come, and I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts." So this is, excuse me again, this is Christ talking about he's going to wake the nations up, and there's going to be temples everywhere. Ain't that the truth right now? Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. And in verse 9, "The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former, saith the Lord of hosts. And in this place will I give peace, saith the Lord of hosts." So, seeing where the temple was, and remember Haggai remembered this, and we said you can tell that in verse 2 of this chapter. And he knew what it was like when it was Solomon's temple. And remember, Solomon's temple, we don't have pictures, of course, but the description of it is just palatial. It is beautiful. And now all he's seeing is this rubble on the ground. It would be heartbreaking. So Haggai knew what the people were missing out on, and he's like, come on, you got to get a temple. So this is the Lord telling him, actually, if you build this again, it's going to be amazing and you'll find peace there. And the important part about the temple, as he's trying to teach them here, doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. It doesn't matter if it's all covered in gold leaf and has all these beautiful things. Now, many of our temples are very, very beautiful buildings because they are houses of the Lord, and we put great effort into making them so beautiful. However, if you live near a temple that looks like a chapel and it's not flash, it doesn't matter. It's what's on the inside, just like us. It's not how flashy it is on the outside. It's what's on the inside and what happens in there that brings the peace. It could have the finest fittings down to gold taps and carpet, like from whatever that's plush, and you could go all out, like really all out. But the peace is found from what is done there, not from the fixtures and fittings, right? Or what it looks like. And in verse 15, that was the other one we're going to say. He said, and now I pray you consider from this day and upward, from before a stone was laid upon a stone in the temple of the Lord. And it's just like, I like that phrase there where he says, I pray you consider from this day and upward. So not this day and forward, but this day and upward. Now, I've been a big fan of like moving forward. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I change that to upward because that makes a lot more sense. It's not just forward. It's kind of forward and upward. But to think higher. So every day, just think that little bit higher, that little bit better, that upward. So not just forward on the straight line, but upward. Be better every day. So it's like, there's a good word for you. Because I've always been a fan of moving forward. Like, don't stagnate, don't go backwards, move forward. Even if it's like tiny little bits every day. What if we change that to upward? Let's move upward a little bit every day. Just higher, better. I think it's really cool. So this message from our modern day prophets is the same, right? The same kind of message. Go to the temple, and again, but do you find peace there? So not everyone does, and not because they are unworthy. And I've already explained why. So, it's not for everyone to find that peace immediately. Sometimes people don't feel it immediately, and that's completely okay. Sometimes it's just overwhelming because it's so much the first time you go, and that's fine too. Just soak in what you can. Remember, you don't have to memorize everything. You don't have to do all of it all at once. You can take your time with it and get to go back. The point is that you try, because there is peace to be found there. And just visit the temple grounds. If you can't go inside, just visit the temple grounds and just ground yourself and meditate and just let all the world wash away. Just know it's there, but not with you at that time. And just take that moment of peace to just be like, and just breathe, have some deep thought, and just calm. It just so helps. Howard W. Hunter, big advocate of temples. By the way, before President Hinckley had his smaller temples, how they could operate idea that now flood the world, President Hunter, a huge advocate of temples, he knew the peace that he found there because his job was intense law, much like President Oaks, intense, and it's a lot. And to be able to leave that outside the doors of the temple and be able to go in the temple and to leave all of that out there for even just an hour and a half to 2 hours at a time is life-changing. So he knew that, and he was trying to teach us that so much, just like Haggai is. So he said, it is in the temple that the things of the earth are joined with the things of heaven. And it is so true that, because you just go in there and everything just makes more sense. So, yeah, think about that. The temple is a place of peace for you, is it? If it's not, how can it be? And keep working on it. And if it is, then fantastic. Help others with it. All right, hang on. We're going to go over to Zechariah and have a look at that. I'll see you there.